reigning champ, Nik Nocturnal. How you doing, buddy?
I'm well. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad, man. It's great to see you. Very stoked to get to know you a little bit more. Why don't we start right at the beginning and tell me about your first roots getting into heavy metal.
Honestly, it all goes back to me and my cousin kind of just being in his room. Like, I'd come home from school, play video games, and he'd always have music playing, whether it be like Alexisonfire, As I Lay Dying, Marilyn Manson, a lot of kind of that older school stuff. And then he got Guitar Hero. It was over at that point. I got introduced to a bunch of cool classic rock bands, metal bands, and that led my journey from wanting to play not only metal, but especially guitar after.
Find it very interesting to hear Alexisonfire and Marilyn Manson used in the sentence with something like old school stuff. It's pretty cool to talk to someone from a generation where it was music like that, as well as video games like Guitar Hero that get you into heavy music. What about your first guitar? When did you get that?
Oh, wow. I think I was nine-ish years old, and it was this little Ibanez, this blue Ibanez. I don't remember anything else about it. It was like a $200 Ibanez that I begged, my parents to get me.
When you first started with guitar, was it always about shredding, or were you learning covers at first?
It was all about Guns N' Roses when I started, no doubt. I always tried to pathetically play, the Guitar Center version of Sweet Child of Mine, you could say. But I was always prone to shredding at first because it was just the coolest thing ever. I wanted to play fast, but as I kind of just developed as a player, I really went away from the shredding side. I wanted to more just play with melodies, create like kind of cool, emotional, fun solos as best I can.
Awesome. Was there a defining moment where you kind of figured out that, hey, I'm not so bad at this guitar thing. Maybe I could make this more than a hobby?
Still figuring that out. Yeah, I mean, when I was kind of later in my teens, I'd see a lot of YouTuber guys like Ola, Killer Buckeye, and I was like, wow, these guys are doing such cool things. I want to try to do that, on the internet. When I started doing that and getting some response, that's when I felt a little more confident.
You're 5 years deep in your YouTube channel, Nik Nocturnal.
That's a long time.
You got 150K plus subscribers. What started out as very low production type cover videos and a little bit of original material. It's kind of grown into this amazing channel with all sorts of content. Why don't you talk to me about your YouTube journey?
So I started with like really basic style covers of just some of my favorite songs that were really low quality. I was scared to show my face for some reason. That's also when I started writing a little more. I learned Cubase, I learned how to actually record myself. And when I got into that, I was like, one other person in the world would hear it. It would make my day, at that time. Then I started just doing more covers, got a little more consistent with it, tried to get better at it because it was just fun to do. I covered this one band, After the Burial, and their song Lost in the Static. And it was up in maybe 3 hours or what. And I was like, okay, cool, maybe people enjoy this. And I noticed people kept commenting, how'd you do this so fast? And I was like, oh, maybe that's something cool. So I started to cover new metal songs as soon as they came out. As
a guitar player, I know that when a new record comes out, the first thing we try and do is learn it. And it's not always the easiest thing to tackle it before, there's a video of the band playing it live to reference. That really impresses me, especially the Slipknot thing specifically recently was insane.
Thank you. Luckily, over 5 years, I got a little better at it.
How did you get to know your audience, and how important overall as a YouTuber is it to know your audience?
I think it's number one or number two. It's definitely up there. But the one thing I always wanted to make sure I did was not force myself really to do things I didn't want to just because it would get, views. So that's when I, 3 years later, it was the first video I even talked in one of my videos and people heard my voice for the first time.
I don't know how to start a video. So let's go.
As I kind of delved more into trying to be me instead of trying to be a YouTuber, that's when I really was able to connect with my fans. But there's always going to be the person that just doesn't fucking like you. One of the hard things as YouTubers is just don't let it get to you. If it's like constructive stuff like, hey dude, I watch your stuff, maybe try doing this to maybe help with the quality. I love hearing that stuff.
Is there any other solid advice you would give to anyone starting out in their YouTube career?
You gotta really, really want to do it. I really want to dedicate your time to that. You go to sleep thinking about it, you wake up thinking about it, your whole day is about it. You're not gonna have much of a social life, which was perfect for me because I already didn't have a social life. But for a lot of people wanting, the high life of, oh, I'm a YouTuber making money, and also just partying, having fun, that's long away. Unless you get really lucky, you get one of those viral videos.
Yeah. Since I've last seen you on Shredders of Metal 2, you've started a new project called Termina.
Termina is this project that I started with my good friend Andy Sizik. Whenever I have a project I have to work with a vocalist, he's the guy. I go to him first no matter what because he's so versatile. I give him an instrumental track. I don't have to tell him really what I want for it vocally. He just magically does it. And it's very modern metalcore. It has influences from a lot of kind of the core genres, you could say. We released our first track, Lucid, a while ago, and people seem to enjoy it, which is great. And we're just currently working on hopefully finishing an album early next year. But we're just gonna release it single by single and kind of take the feedback.
I love internet projects, and BangerTV loves internet projects. So why don't we talk about the big internet project that you were a part of with us, Shredders of Metal 2.
Of course.
How did you hear about it, and why did you want to audition?
My good friend Bradley, actually, who works around here, he hit me up. He's like, dude, did you know there's a shredding competition? I'm like, what? Not only have I not really heard of shredding competitions in the realm of metal, it's in Canada and in Toronto. I was like, wow, okay, I'm sold. And I kind of went into the whole thing not really knowing what would happen, because I'm not a shredder by any means. I can shred, but I'm not a shredder.
How did you prepare for a shredding competition then?
Just practicing scales a little bit and standing up while playing, surprisingly, something I was not used to.
That's funny. Yeah, you're definitely sitting in all your videos on YouTube.
Yeah, people don't think I have legs too, so that's great.
I think almost everyone, including Ben Weinman, complimented you on is your relevancy as a guitar player in that you bring modern flavors to the table. Specifically, I thought that shined a lot in your drum track composition.
I was very comfortable with that challenge more so than the others, because it wasn't like I was like, okay, here's like a thrashy kind of old school metal backing track. It was like, here are drums. I can do whatever I want with this. Obviously, I go in where I think I excel, which is the more modern style of playing. And I've simply developed that modern style of playing by just covering songs over the past, 5 years, always the new stuff. It has helped me as a player really develop and see all these modern techniques, these new patterns. Whenever there's a new kind of cool sound or style that these bands are doing, I always try to emulate it, see how they're doing it. So I really just prepared by just trying to go with as much groove and feel as I could without actually preparing too much, because if I overly prepare, I'll screw up everywhere.
I think this is a good opportunity to address some of the comments. It was a very much a plug and play type atmosphere, and I think a lot of people would be surprised to know that we shot the entire series in one day.
Yeah.
Could you maybe address some of the difficulties that you had adapting to the studio atmosphere with the cameras and the audience, and perhaps some of the hurdles you had to overcome in the filming of Shredders 2?
Yeah, so I mean, just in general, playing a live rig. I'm used to my digital stuff. I grew up a bedroom guitarist, with parents in the house, so I didn't want to be loud and annoying. So as soon as you have to plug into a real amp, it's like, oh, okay, this is the real shit again. I completely forgot how this works. You got to bring a reverb pedal if you want some reverb. You got to bring a delay pedal, all that kind of stuff if you want to kind of have that wet sound. So I think myself and a few even other people were kind of overlooking that, and we're like, we're just going to plug in and instantly sound amazing. And it sounded really good on those amps, but the thing is, dialing those amps in, I think that was definitely a big hurdle for me.
So you were one of the guys who came in completely dry with no pedals, and you just plugged straight into the amp.
That was me, yes. At least the first round I listened to it, and I was like, yeah, okay, I probably need to fix this a little bit and hope that I play clean enough so that you know, I don't look like I'm making too much mistakes and just look absolutely awful.
That's right. Like, I mean, going into an amp dry is perhaps the least forgiving thing you can do as a guitar player.
Yes.
Your tone improved over the episodes. Was that you just becoming more comfortable with this idea of a live rig?
Comfortable with honestly everything. The cameras everywhere, and definitely the tone, getting a little more comfortable with actually playing with an amp that's, you know, right there. It's right beside me. I hear all that noise coming out of it. You know, there's judges watching me, you know, watching my every move. And it's hot. You know, there's a lot.
Hot.
It was really hot.
So we overcame the challenges. You slayed every other shredder in your path. And you walked away victorious with a gorgeous ESP E2 Eclipse and a Marshall stack. Is that your first amp?
Yes, it is my first real amp, actually.
That's awesome. And I saw you walk in today with a guitar case. You brought that Eclipse with you today?
I brought the Eclipse. It's super fun. It sounds crystal clear, feels comfortable. It has 81 60 EMGs, you know, satin black finish, 3-way toggle. Whenever I look for a guitar, I need an ebony fretboard. Mostly because I love the look of ebony, but also it just feels so nice, silky smooth, to be honest. Obviously, you know, satin finish, which is one of my favorite colors. I love satin on anything I get. 22 fret, jumbo here. We got some cool block style inlays, and yeah, it's just a sleek and awesome guitar that just gets the job really well done.
Nice. And are you like, you use the toggle switch? Are you like a bridge and neck, back and forth kind of guy?
Yeah, I mean, for most of my just rhythm, straight, you know, heavy stuff, always kind of on that bridge. But when it comes to just the more melodic, even chordy stuff, I love going to that neck pickup and trying to get a little more clarity, a little more bassier kind of feel with everything.
Before you won this guitar, I definitely took it for a test spin. It's a gorgeous guitar. Playing through your Axe effects must sound pretty goddamn heavy.
Of course, hell yeah, I love those EMGs.
And speaking of tunings, you know, you got the locking blocks there, keep you nice and crisp throughout your whole tune. Yeah, how about the silver trim here? This is pretty sexy too.
It's pretty cool. I really like it, especially because most of the guitar is black anyway, so having a little bit of a variety there also makes the black actually stand out even more.
Yeah, it looks metal as fuck, obviously. The E2 series is really cool from ESP. This made in Japan. Killer craftsmanship, man. What a beast. I'm actually pretty jealous. Hell yeah, man. Well, I hope that we see it in some videos soon, because I'm dying to hear what this sounds like through your rig, man.
Oh, it sounds pretty nice. I'll throw it in a few, don't you worry.
Speaking of your rig, why don't you run me through the toys you're messing around with these days?
Great, so as the digital guy, you know, Axe Effects is literally my go-to for everything. I just love the versatility. I love how easy it is. It's all right there. You press a button and here's your tone, you know what I mean? When it comes to guitars, I've been loving, you know, these Music Man JP6, and I've been demoing with the Jason Richardson new model, which is really, really cool. Definitely perfect for, you know, that low tuning kind of stuff. And also the Majesty, the Kinetic Blue, oh my God. They're just absolutely nice guitars and versatile and get, you know, the job done. That's me, you know, like I'm not a guitar techie guy. If I see a guitar, looks nice, feels comfortable, sounds good, I'm gonna be playing that for a long time. Simple as that. And for picks, again, I'm using Ernie Ball Prodigy. I actually have one on here. And but yeah, so it's mainly just guitar, straight into Axe Effects. For recording, I use just Cubase for everything. That's it.
It's also no pedals, no nothing.
It's all on the Axe Effects.
All on the Axe. That's
Yeah.
awesome. What about string gauges?
I usually use, depending on 7 or 6, if I use a 7 string, I'm using 0.12 all the way to 0.64. And if I'm using a 6 string, it's 0.12 to actually 5.6. And I use Ernie Ball Paradigm for both of them.
Awesome. Any other secret weapons in your home studio that we should know about?
Just program drums and bass that everyone will hate to hear.
What plugins are you using?
I use Get Good Drums for my drums. I love them because they're easy, really solid, just raw samples. And then for bass, I actually started using Eurobass-II. It's made by the guy who actually mastered a lot of the modern metalcore albums like Architects and Northlane. And he hit me up to actually try it out, and I've been hooked ever since. It's just a very realistic sounding bass VST, so yeah.
Nik Nocturnal, Wicked Channel. And as always, man, a pleasure to catch up with you, and keep on shredding.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.